Hey, I'm Felissa Rose, and you're watching Keto and Crime.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Keto and Crime and Thought Crime. So, I posted yesterday, or actually Friday, depends on when you're seeing this, that I would not be commenting on the Summer Wells case until more information was available. That is, where I could actually do some sort of real opinion on the case, and I'm just standing by that. What I'm doing here is more of a rant video because I see a lot of opinions out there, and most of them tend to be pointing the finger at Summer's parents now, or her brothers. Now, out of respect for the family, I think, even though we know in some of these cases, there's only two options here. It's either a member of the family slash someone she knows, or the, in my opinion, the worst option is strangers that are using her for a specific purpose, and that's all I'm going to say. So those are the two options. And I know it's very easy to blame the family in this, but the reasoning I'm seeing behind blaming the family just don't hold water in my opinion. I've seen videos where they comment on their body language, on their history, and yes, I know history is indicative of present behavior, but let me break this down for you. Summer Wells disappeared 15th from her home in Rogersville, Tennessee. And here's that home, and here's little Summer. According to her mother, Candus Bly, they had, her and her mom had been out gardening, and Summer wanted to go into the house to hang out with her brother, so she allowed her to do that. She got a piece of candy from her grandma, and she went in where she told the three brothers who were evidently watching television or playing games or something in the main level of the house to watch her. And then she went about her business. So she comes in a little while later, and the boys tell. She asked the boys where Summer. She's down. They're downstairs playing with her toys in the playroom, Mom. Now, that did strike me as a weird way for a boy to finish out a complete sentence, but who knows? But I don't think it's indicative of criminal behavior. So she goes down, she yells for her, doesn't find her, and she's gone. She calls the father, Don Wells, who has been at work, and they essentially call 911, and then the Amber Alert goes out, which I actually got the Amber Alert on my phone that same day because I live in Tennessee. And she's been missing ever since. She's been missing for 17 days. So this is my kind of challenge to those automatically blaming the parents. And it could very well be the parents. I'm not trying to absolve them from any blame, but they're not automatically guilty. We have to trust the sheriff to do his job. Rogersville is in extreme East Tennessee, about 55 miles from Knoxville, which is like Knoxville. That area is like the eastmost point of Tennessee. It touches Virginia and North Carolina, depending on where you are. And so that is the utmost eastern part of the state. Very hillbilly. I grew up in this area, but in Alabama. So I grew up in the same stretch of the Appalachian Mountains, just in a different state. And I live in Middle Tennessee now, not too far from here, about a 3 or 4 hour drive from here. So what I'm seeing, and also this county is very, very poor. And I'm going to get into that in just a second. I grew up around these people, these types of people, and I live near people just like this. A lot of the criticism I'm seeing of her parents is their body language, their kind of shiftiness. If you look at both of them, and I'm not going to put pictures of them up here because you've seen them, you've seen the videos, they're acting the same way as 90% of the people I grew up around acted. They are very, very country. They are very, very poor. and they are very much hillbillies and not the best educated. There is no other way to say that. They live in this very rural county, Hawkins County in Tennessee, where the average family income is $23,000 a year. Think about that. Staggering poverty. The only jobs in this area are very small regional manufacturers, which probably pay an average of $8 to $12 an hour, or, gas stations, restaurants, fast food restaurants, that sort of thing. That's the only work around here since, coal mining is no longer really a thing. All the good paying jobs are gone from this area. You can put this right in line with the other Appalachian areas where it's been stripped of all the good paying jobs. So they are basically scraping the bottom of the barrel for work. The only pro about that is that the cost of living here is very low too, but extreme poverty. And everybody that doesn't have one of these menial jobs probably exists on welfare. So, not the best school systems, not the best way of growing up, not the best way of existing. I grew up just like this. I grew up between my grandparents' farm, the trailer park that my dad lived in, and a house that my mom lived in town, a very small town in Appalachian, Alabama. So I've been around this. They're good people, but people, when judging these people, they can come off as very strange. Also, if you look at the backgrounds of both of her parents, Dawn Wells in 2000, early 2000s, mid 1990s, had several convictions. Sorry, one of my clients, I did something for him real quick and he was saying thanks. Apologize for that. Anyway, he had several convictions for drug violations, violent felonies. So yes, he has been very violent in his past. And also some parole and probation violations, which kept him in and out of jail for a good part of the early 2000s. He also had possession of a firearm charge that was slated against him in the early 2000s here in Rogersville, where he evidently threatened the family with a gun. Probably drunk, probably still high on some sort of, codone type opioid. If I had my guess, because that's what I kind of grew up with. So I know the patterns. As far as the mom, she had a record from Wisconsin in 2003 for some domestic violence or domestic situations, as well as her sister, Rose Bly, disappeared from their Wisconsin home on her way from her Wisconsin home to have drinks with a friend in 2009, and about 5 days later, her car was found abandoned at a parking lot for 18-wheelers. So, very weird shenanigans in this family. However, neither Dawn nor Candus could be connected with that disappearance because they were already living in Tennessee. So that leads me to another point. But what I'm saying is that the weirdness that you see in them has to do more with a way of life, probably a lot of alcohol and drug abuse. So yeah, they're going to be a little twitchy. If you notice Candace's face, she has kind of the droopy eye. I would say that's either from drug abuse, possibly maybe even a mini stroke she had as a result of the drug abuse. I'm not speculating. I'm just saying I've seen that. I've seen that before. I've seen that in my own family. But what that body language does not dictate, other than years of abusing their bodies, rapid aging brought on by their lifestyle, and also maybe just worrying about their daughter that has been missing for 17 days, none of that body language to me indicates that they did. There's been a lot of weirdness around this family. The disappearance of the sister, which to me, they say that I know the cases aren't connected, but I think it shows that perhaps this family has enemies out there that may or may not have been watching this family to take revenge on the family somehow, maybe by stealing this little girl. Who knows? Also, the other option is she could have just wandered off. It's a wooded area. children that live up in the mountains like this, we like to go exploring. I used to go off about a mile from home into the woods, but I could always find my way back. Could be she got out there and got lost. It's possible. It's possible that somebody that knew her lured her away. It does not mean that the parents did it or that the brothers did it. There's speculation that these boys may have pointed a BB gun at her at some point. Guess what? My brother shot me in the ass with a BB gun. We were 12, and I still have a scar. So it happens, and I wasn't abused or kidnapped by him. So it does happen. These are mountain people, very different type of people than most of the YouTubers commenting on them have ever met. And that's the reason I felt I needed to speak out, because these are my people. I'm one of these people. I just grew up and got a little more educated and moved out of the mountains. That's the only difference between me and them. I still have many of the same habits as these people. I have a very addictive personality. I'm addicted to food rather than drugs, and that's the reason I struggle with my weight. But these people are probably addicted to drugs rather than food. So I have the very same tendencies. My father was an abusive alcoholic. My mom was kind of an abusive narcissist. The people that I talk about in my comedy routines are my parents. Those aren't my biological parents. They're a family that kind of got me out of that situation. But so I've been around these people. I was the victim of sexual abuse for many years at the hands of my stepmother. My mother did not believe me. So I know that there are skeletons in the closet of this family. But it does not mean they killed their daughter. It does not mean they kidnapped and killed their daughter. They could have, but it does not necessarily mean that. So all the speculation of people thinking they know who did it, we're not experts. We're just YouTubers. We're just people that get on the internet and run our mouth. And I'm just trying to put all this into perspective. And then there's that the third option outside of her wandering off and getting lost, which is possible, or somebody that she knows or a member of her family taking some revenge on her. There's also an option that scares me more than anything. We'll talk about it right now. What you're looking at is a 2013 report on child sex trafficking within the state of Tennessee that was a joint effort between the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Now, you may or may not believe it, but Appalachia is a haven for sex traffickers. Sex traffickers come out of major cities like Atlanta, New Orleans, and they use the highways and byways that go into Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, these very rural mountainous areas as a way of getting children for what they're going to do. And as I said, she is in Hawkins, Tennessee, which is in extreme East Tennessee. The county's reporting over 100 cases of child sex crimes are Knox and Sevierville, or Sevier. These are the easternmost counties that are within 25 to 75 miles of Hawkins. So she is in a hotbed. She was sadly in a hotbed area for this sort of thing. And what these people that do these sort of things do, and I know this because my mother-in-law has a friend that she used to play golf with that is a retired TBI investigator that would tell her all the time to watch children in the neighborhood, make sure they're safe, because what these people do, these evil, disgusting people, is they case children in these low-income, poverty-stricken, mountainous areas where sometimes the parenting skills aren't that good, and children are kind of left to wander around on their own, much like, they probably were being in that very mountainous, rural area, and they case them. There's been so many cases of, people going into children's homes and taking them away. There's been a whole lot of well-publicized cases about that. So that is also an option, people. That's all I'm saying. That is an option. Either a family member did it, somebody she knows did it, and maybe they were also abusing her and decided to get rid of the evidence. I feel like a piece of crap even talking about this stuff. Or she wandered off and got lost. I'm really hoping that's it, and that she finds her way back. Or one of these evil, disgusting people that use this area of Tennessee, poor rural areas, to feed a pipeline of disgusting, evil acts. It could be any of those, but what I see out there on YouTube is people automatically blaming the parents. Doesn't mean that. These people have just lost their child. Give them a little bit of grace, a little bit of mercy. And if it turns out that they did it, then we'll chastise them. But then we'll do what needs to be done. But for now, we don't know. And having their names dragged through the mud when their child and their sister and their grandchild is missing, can you imagine? Put yourself in their shoes. That's all I'm saying. Offer a little bit of grace, a little bit of mercy until we know the truth. I'm just throwing out some other options. I don't really have an opinion. I hope she's just lost in the woods and she finds her way home. I bet after 17 days, she would have to be like my side of the mountain kind of skill to get back, I suppose. But I'm hoping. I'm hoping she's still alive, and I'm hoping they find her. This case reminds me a lot of the Holly Bobo case, which I did cover in a video. I'll link it up here. Similar scenario. A girl went missing, disappeared without a trace, and even after the trial, I'm still not convinced that the right people were apprehended in that as well. And her family was blamed too, turned out to be totally innocent. But, yeah, all I'm saying is don't jump to conclusions. It's fine to have an opinion, but maybe keep it to yourself until we know more. That's all I'm saying. And as soon as there is more to know in this case, I will do a deep dive. But just wanted to bring this out here to you, and now I'll shut my mouth like a lot of people should. And until next time, keto and crime.